Therefore, it is considered concealing the light, concealing the contents of those words, of those letters. This is an example of one of the contractions that took place in the higher world, namely between the crown of Atzilus and Atzilus itself. This is the nature of that contraction is compared to words which are scrabbled, which means it did not let the light through fully. It didn't let the light be transmitted from the crown over the world of Atzilus into the attributes of Atzilus. Then there is Havdalah, separations, till the format of Ein Arech, there's completely, till it actually comes on this physical world. It's a long trip. And what do we have here? The limitations and boundaries of this literal physical world. And not only the physical world, lower than the physical world, the Elam Hazeh Chumri. Chumri means that it's not just he needs it, it's something, a physical object that he needs for his health, for his food, for other benefits, for legitimate benefits. But chumri means something that he doesn't even need for his benefit. It is an extra luxury. It is a luxury, but it's and even chumrius means considered thick, fagrep. It is something that is like not even something legitimate. It is something that he knows it comes from the evil inclination. There's no purpose in that. It's just lower yet than his physical state. This is the physical world in which he finds himself in which the opposite elements, the negative elements in this world are strong. Till eventually you got a physical Egypt. As it is mentioned, elaborated in length in many places. Now the question is, technically, how does that happen? That from a Tzimtzum Harishon, from the first contraction, we should have in Egypt. So the Rebbe explains what is the nature of the first contraction. The point is, because of the restrictions, the nature of this first contraction comes from restriction. It is restricting oneself. It is restricting the light. It is limiting the revelation. Therefore, it is considered a limitation and a restriction. Once there was already a restriction on that level, eventually in the chain of creation, it comes down to a physical restriction, which is the literal Egypt, which is referred to Mitzrayim, which means restriction. As we find it also in halacha. We find sometimes not in halacha, but in the world, in nature. When a person is constantly aggressive in something, so he might sometimes use this aggressiveness not in the right place. For example, a person that's very aggressive might sometimes hit his child more than required, because he is more in that direction. This is more his approach. What does this mean? There's a result from removing the revelation, as a result of the tzimtzum, of using this for removing the first revelation, it will lead to a literal restriction in this physical world, because everything comes roots one from another. Therefore, we can understand that from the first restriction, which was a restriction in Kedusha, Hashem made it himself to remove the first revelation, which the world could not deal with it. This is already a source, this is already a tzimtzum, a limitation. And from one limitation to another. From this comes the tzimtzum, the limitation. Ad le tzimtzum, the she'ein lamata memeno, till a tzimtzum which there's nothing lower than that. V'ad shal yedeza yocholias ishavas the dein lein hanyanli, as the Medrash says in Bereshis Rabbah, in anthology, that he can create, as a result of that, a world which he himself is not pleased with it. He says, Lei hanyanli, I don't want it, which are the worlds that are called Teo. In English it's translated the chaos world, Elam Hateo, which is a spiritual world. And Hashem says, I don't want those worlds. Shegam zeu isavos. This is also a creation. This is all as a result from the Tzimtzum Harishon, from the removing the first light. Then comes the Elam Hateo. Then comes the Miyot HaLavana. The Miyot HaLavana means the shrinking, that the moon is smaller than the sun. Then the first sin, which is that there was caused by Adam. This is all one chain reaction. As the previous Rebbe explains it in the Hasidic discourse, a Yud Tammuz Maimer from the year 1931.